web browser. So here open directly the browsers like the Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Edge and drag and drop the user to open the file. The SVG can be embedded directly within the HTML5 document using the tag that is the SVG. In the SVG polygon is an element used in the scalable vector graphic and to create a shape with multiple straight sides. Hello everyone, welcome to the next session of the Multimedia Animation. I am Sanjana, Faculty of BCA Department, Vidhyaashram, First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Today we will be learning about the Unit 3 HTML5 SVG. In today's agenda, you will be learning about what do you mean by HTML5 SVG, what is this scalable vector graphic, and next how we can view the SVG files and how we can embed the SVG HTML files to the HTML, and next what do you mean by the HTML5 SVG circle, how we can draw the circle using the SVG concept, and next how we can draw the rectangle, line, ellipse, polygon and the polyline gradients and also the star. So here we will be learning how we can draw all these things using the HTML5 SVG. So the first is, what do you mean by HTML5 and SVG? So HTML5 is a new version that was released in 2014, and here the HTML5 is the latest version of the HTML, means the hypertext markup language and the standard markup language for document design to be displayed in a web browser. Next we are having the SVG, means scalable vector graphic. So this is an XML based markup language used to describe the vector graphic for the web. So we are using the SVG concept, means scalable vector graphics. So this scalable vector graphics, whatever we are drawing using this concept, can be seen in the responsive layouts. So it may not compress the quality of the drawing or the graphics what we have drawn. So that's why this is mainly important topic and we will be using the HTML5 with the SVG. So how we can draw the things or the graphics with a scalable vector. Here you can see the SVG can be embedded directly within the HTML5 document using the tag that is the SVG. So here we are having a tag called as a SVG tag. So using this with the HTML5 we can draw the graphics what we want. So mainly we are using this as a XML based concept. So XML means mainly to the document type. So here the SVG is a XML based markup language, whereas HTML is a hypertext markup language where the SVG is a XML based markup language. So it is commonly used for vector graphics such as the icons, logos, charts and illustration. So we have seen so many logos, so many charts. So the main concept what we are using or what the other developer uses is the SVG concept. So we can mainly do the icons, what are the icons we want, and the logos what we want to create for our own project, we can use this concept. Next, the SVG element allows you to define shapes like circle, rectangles, line and other parts, etc. So we will be mainly learning how we can draw the shapes like circle, rectangle, lines, polygon, etc. So the first thing here is the syntax of the SVG. So what is this syntax? How we can use the SVG with the HTML5? So here we are having SVG, and here SVG width, we are giving the width, that is the attributes of the SVG, width value, and the height value, and here we are having XML length. So here we have given the www dot means the link for the XML length, and here we are having the content what we want to draw. So this is a simple syntax what we are having, and here you can see width and height. Here it defines the size of the CVG canvas, and next the XML length what we have given is the specific of the XML namespace for the CVG elements that need to be for the inline CVG. So this is an optional what we will be using. So this is the basic syntax of the SVG what we are drawing or what we are designing. So next here we are viewing the SVG files. So the SVG files can be viewed more like, for example, browser, or for example in the embedded CVG in HTML, or using the code editors, graphic design software. So we can view the file of the SVG in a different platform. So the first one is a web browser. So here open directly the browsers like the Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Edge, and drag and drop the user to open the file. So here mainly we can use the Chrome, Firefox, Safari, and Edges. So the next we are having embedded SVG in the HTML5. So here inline SVG. So here we will be using the SVG tag, and external SVG we can use the image tag of the HTML5. Here we can also have the image.svg. So this is embedding the SVG with the HTML5. The next one is using code editors. So here we will be using code editors. So editors like the Visual Studio Code, Sublime, Text Support Live, and Preview of the SVGs. So here we can also use the code editors for viewing the SVG files. Next, graphic design software. Edit view SVG with the tools like Adobe Illustrator, Inkscape, and Core ID Draw. Next, here we also have other platforms like the mobile devices. View SVG in mobile browsers like Chrome, Safari on iOS or the Android. Next, image viewers. View SVG files with window photo viewers or the Mac OS preview. The next is the SVG preview tools. We are also having a preview tools for the SVG. So using the online tools like the JSF Fiddle, CodePen, or the SVG OMG for previews and editing. The next one is a browser extensions. So installing the SVG viewer extensions for the Chrome to view and inspect the SVG files. So there are many platforms, there are many concepts where we can use or we can view the SVG files. So here we have the 8 ways where we can view the SVG files. Next is the embedding of the SVG with the HTML. So how we can embed the SVG with the HTML code? So the first one is an inline SVG. So embedding the SVG code directly within the HTML using the SVG tag. So allows the CS and JavaScript to manipulation the HTML. So here you can see the opening SVG and the closing SVG tag, and here we have given the width 100, height 100, and here we have taken the circle tag of the HTML5, and here we have given all those attributes what we want to draw. So here next we have taken the external SVG. It is a reference and SVG file using the image, object, or iframe tags. So here this is mainly external. So we will be using the SVG file as an external to these tags like image, object, or a iframe. So next, for example, you can see image tag. I have taken image source image.svg. So here we are using the external SVG, and here the alt SVG image. Next we have taken object type. So here also you can see we have taken the object type image/svg plus XML data. What we have given is a image.svg, and width height what we want like 100 or 200 we have given. Next, using the use tag. So here another concept where we can use the use tag in the HTML file. So here it will reuse the element defined in the SVG file or a inline SVG file. So SVG width 100, height 100, and here you can see I am using the use tag, and here we have given the reference hyperreference link, that is image.svg and /icon id. So in this way we can embed the SVG files to the HTML and to use as an external also as a inline also. So next, here we will be learning how we can use the scalable vector graphic to have a graphic or a row of the circle, rectangle, polygon, star and also the gradients. So the first one is the HTML5 circle. So how we can draw a circle using the scalable vector graphic. So here an SVG circle is created using the circle tag. So we are having our own circle tag in the HTML5. So the element in SVG, it is defined by its center coordinates. So here we will be having center coordinates like the CX and CY and radius R. And next we can also style the circle with the attributes. We are having different attributes like the stroke, stroke width and also the fill. So here we are having simple syntax. We will be using the SVG tag with the height, width, and here for the circle we will be using the coordinators and the radiant and also the stroke and also the fill. So here what do you mean by the CX, CY? So these are the X coordinate, Y coordinate of the circle center, and next we are having R. R means the radius of the circle, stroke, the color of the circle's border. So the stroke is the color of the circle border what we are giving. And next stroke width, we can also have a stroke width. So what it represents? It is the thickness of the border. So it is giving the thickness of the border. Next we are having fill. So the color inside the circle. So here we are having a simple example how we can have a SVG circle. So here you can see I have taken the tag SVG and I have given the width 200 and the height 200, and here I have taken the circle tag and I have given the coordinate of the x-axis and y-axis 100 and 100, and here the radius I have given is 50 and the stroke what I have used is the black. You can see the black, and next the stroke width is the 2, means the thickness what I have given is the 2, and the last is the fill, that is the blue. So it is filled blue, and here we have created the SVG graphic of a circle. So this will not lose the quality when it is compressed. That is the main thing why we will be using the scalable vector graphic. The next one is the HTML5 of the SVG rectangle. So here the rectangle is created using the tag that is the rect element, and it defined by its position. So here we will be having the position like x, y, height, width, and also the optional styling like the border, means the stroke and fill colors. So here also we are having the simple syntax. So here we will be using the SVG tag with the height and width, and here you can see we have given the position for the x and y, means x and y is representing the position. And next here you can see we are having the stroke and also the fill. So here you can see x here represents the x coordinate for the top left corner of the rectangle, and the y coordinate for the top left corner of the rectangle, means it is the position of the x and y. Next width, height, the width of the rectangle and the height of the rectangle. And here again we will be using the stroke and stroke width to have the border and the border thickness. Next fill, means we will be filling the color to the rectangle. So here you have having a simple example of the SVG. Here you can see the width and height what we have given is the 200, and here rect x I have given 50 and y I have given 50. Next here width and height I have given 100, and here height I have reduced to 80. Next the stroke is the black and the stroke width what I have given is 2 and fill is red. So here we are having the vector graphic of the rectangle what we have used using a HTML5 SVG. So next another one is the HTML5 of the line. So HTML5 SVG line. So how we can draw the line? So these are basically the geometric concept of the mathematics, and here we will be learning how we can draw the graphic to these things. So here an SVG line is created using the line element, and it is defined by its starting point like x1 and y1 and ending point x2 and y2. and can have the styling like stroke color, stroke width and line dashes. So here is the syntax, the same as we will be using the SVG and line with the attributes like x1, so x coordinate of the starting point, and y1, y coordinate of the starting point, and here x2 and y2, so these are the x coordinate and y coordinate of the ending points, and the stroke and stroke width what we are giving is the color of the line. So here the stroke representing the color of the line. So here we will be not filling, but we will be using the stroke, whereas in previous we have used the stroke to border, but in line we will be using that to represent the color of the line. And stroke width, the thickness of the line. So here you can see I have written inside the HTML5. So here the title what I have given SVG line example, and here inside the body we have taken the SVG tag. So width I have given 200 and height I have given 200. So here the line tag element we will be using, and here x1 and y1 we have given 20 and 20, and x2 and y2 we have given 180. After that here the stroke is given blue and the stroke width is given, means the thickness is given 2. So here an example how it is drawn. So this is the example of what we have taken with the SVG element, and here we can see we are having a blue line what we have drawn or what we have given in the code. So here the thickness is 2 and the stroke what we have given is the blue. So this is the example how we can have a vector graphic of a line. So next we are having HTML5 of the SVG of a ellipse. So how we can draw the ellipse? So here an SVG ellipse is an element used in the scalable vector graphic, and it is used to create an ellipse. So here an ellipse is a shape that resembles a stretched or a compressed circle and is defined by two radius like horizontal radius and a vertical radius. So here we will be having two types of radius, that is the vertical and the horizontal. So here we are having a syntax. We have taken the ellipse element and we have given the attribute like Cx and Cy. So here it is a x coordinate and y coordinate of the center of ellipse, and the Rx and Ry are the radius of the ellipse along with x axis, and the y is the radius of the ellipse with the y axis. And last we are having fill, the color is used to fill the ellipse. So these are the attributes of the ellipse element what we will be using in a SVG tag. So here we have taken an example how we can draw the ellipse. So here you can see we are taken the SVG tag and the ellipse tag. So SVG tag we have given the height and width, that is 200, and here we have taken the optional XML length what we want to have it, and next we have taken the ellipse tag or the ellipse element, and here we have given the coordinate of the x and y 100, 100 and the radius 80, 50, and fill dark blue with the stroke black and stroke width 2. So here the sample output of what we have drawn using the scalable vector graphic. So now we have seen the circle, rectangle, line and the ellipse. Next we will be learning how we can draw the polygon. So how we can draw the polygon? So here in the SVG polygon is an element used in the scalable vector graphic and to create a shape with multiple straight sides. So the polygon we will be creating with the straight lines or the straight lines what or we can have a sides. So a polygon connects a series of points with the straight lines to form a closed shape, and the points defining the vertices of the polygon are given points attribute. So here we will be drawing with the straight lines and having a closed shape. So here a simple syntax, we will be using the polygon element. So the polygon element will be having points like x1, y1, y2, x3, etc. And here the fill color, stroke the border color and stroke width the border width. So here what you mean by the points? So these are the attributes a list of pairs of the coordinate like xy that defines the vertices of the polygon, and these points are separated by spaces. Next, fill, you will be filling the color, and the next stroke means you will be giving the stroke the color of the polygon's border, and the next stroke width means the thickness what you want to have a graphic. So here we are having a simple example. Polygon means we will be having straight line that is combined and made a closed shape. So here you can see I have taken the SVG tag, height and width both are given 200, and I have taken the XML length. So and polygon, that is the element what I have taken, and here the points I have given is the 50, 150 and again 150, 150 and 150. Next, fill blue, the stroke is black and the width is 2. So this will give you a rectangle shape of the polygon what we have drawn. So now we have learned how to draw a polygon. So we will be using the polygon element with the SVG and its attribute. Next, you will be learning about the polyline. So how we can have a polyline. So how it differs from polygon. So the SVG polyline is the element in a scalable vector graphic and is used to create a series of connected straight lines. So here it will be creating a connected straight lines, not a closed shape. So that is the main difference between the polygon and the polyline. So here a polyline is not automatically closed. It is simply connects a sequence of points with a straight line. The polygon can have any number of vertices, but it does not close the shape by default unless explicitly specified. So here is the example. I have taken the syntax. So the syntax is having a polyline element and it is also having points, fill, stroke and stroke width. So here you can see the points, a list of coordinate pair, that is the xy, and next here we are having the xy that defines the vertices of the polyline and these points are separated by space, and next we are having fill, stroke and stroke width. So fill is the color what we are filling, the stroke is the color of the line, so and the stroke width is the width or the thickness of the line. So this is the syntax how we can draw a polyline. So here an example how we can draw the polyline. So here also we have taken the SVG with the polyline element, and SVG we have taken height, width and XML length, and we have given 200 and XML length website. Next we are having polyline. So the points I have given is the 50, 150 and next 150, 150 and the next one is the 100 and 150. Fill is none, I have not given the fill, and the stroke is black and here the stroke width is the 2. So here the stroke what we have given is black and here you can see we are having polyline. So whatever the points you will be giving, you will be having the lines of what the points you have given. The lines can be like this or like this or this. So it is like joining the straight lines and giving you the shapes. So these are not closed shapes but it is a open lines what we have created. So that was about the polyline. So this is the first example of the polyline. Here we are having second example how we can draw the polyline. So here SVG. So here width 300, height 300 and the points is 50, 50, 150, 250 and 150, 350 and 50. So here we are having the second example. So you can see I have taken the SVG with the polyline and the points what I have given is the 50, 50, 150, 150, 250, 150 and the 350 with the 50. So these are the points, means the lines what I want to draw, and I have given the stroke black, stroke width is 5 and the fill is none. So here you can see I am having a polyline of the 3 lines joining each other. So in this way I can create the SVG polyline. So next here we are having the last, that is the gradients and the stars. The first concept is the gradient. So how we can draw the HTML5 SVG gradients. So what do you mean by this gradient? So the gradient in the SVG allows to create smooth transition between colors, enhancing the appearance of the shape. So they can be applied to the fill or a stroke of the SVG elements like rect, circle, paths and etc. Now there are different types of gradients. In that we will be learning the first one linear gradient and the second one radical gradient. So what is this linear gradient? So a linear gradient creates a color transition along a straight line and you can control the direction of the gradient, example like the top, bottom or the left or the right. So the linear means it will be in a linear format and it creates a color transition in a linear way. Whereas the radical gradient is a creation of a color transition from a central point. So it will be start from the central point, whereas the linear gradient will have a color transition in a horizontal or a vertical way. So here it will be having outward typically in a circular or a elliptical shape. So the radical will be created using shapes like circular or a elliptical. And you can also control the size and the position of the central point and the spread of the gradient. So here you can have an example how the both will work. So here you can see I have taken the linear gradient with the ID linear grade and I have given x1, y1 that is 0% and x2, y2 I have given 100% and y2 that is a 0%. So these are the coordinate and also the attribute of the linear gradient element. Next, stop offset. So here 0% and the style I have taken stop color purple and the stop opacity. So opacity will either be 0 or 1 with a decimal number. So here the opacity is 1 and next here the stop offset is given with a 100% and style stop color pink with a stop opacity 1. So and last I have closed the linear gradient. So here you can see the example of the code what we have taken. Here the purple is changing to the pink with a linear gradient. So here from starting to the end it is changing the color. So here what do you mean by the def tag? So here it defines the reusable component such as the gradient. So whenever we are using this element means we can reuse the gradient element. And next linear gradient defines the linear gradient with the ID grade 1. And also the x1, y1, x2, y2 controls the start and the end point of the gradient. Here we also use the stop. So it specifies the color and opacity of the stop at the given offsets like 0% and 100%. So this was about the linear gradient. Next we are having the radical gradient. So here how we can draw the radical gradient. Here also we will be using the radical gradient with the ID radical grad and here the coordinate of the x and y because we are using the circle to show you how the radical gradient works. The Cx and Cy, so coordinate x and coordinate y, I have given 50% and 50% for the coordinate of the circle and the r means the radius I have given 50%, fx and fy that is 50% and 50%. Fill the x-axis and y-axis with a 50%. Next here the stop offset 0. The style is the stop color purple and stop opacity is 1 and here also the stop offset 100% and the style is the stop color pink and here I have given the opacity 1. And next you can see the example how it gives. So here inside we are having the pink and outside we are having the color that is purple. So here the circle I have taken with a x-axis and y-axis and the r that is the radius 100. Fill the URL what we have taken with the ID radical grad. So here you can see the example how we are having the output. Here we are having the attributes like the radical gradient. So it defines the radical gradient with the ID grade 2 and Here we have taken the coordinate axis and also the r means the radius. So this defines the center of the gradient and r defines the radius of the gradient circle, and fx and fy controls the focal point of the gradient what we have taken, and stop specifies the color and opacity and also gives the offset, that is the 0% and 100%. So the last is how we can create the another concept, that is the star. So how we can create the star using the HTML5 and SVG. So an SVG star is a vector graphic shape that resembles a star, typically drawn using a series of points and lines. So here you will be using the points as well as the lines to create a star. Here, while there is no direct star element in the SVG, the stars can be created using the polygon. So the polygon is a concept where we create a shapes that is in a closed format. So we will be using the polygon to draw the star. And here the path element can be specified for coordinate of the star point. So here the syntax, we have taken the polygon, and here the points what we have taken, and the fill is the color, stroke and stroke width what is the outer line, and stroke width means the thickness we will be giving. So here the attributes and the example. The attributes are the point, fill, stroke and stroke width. And example, you can see I have taken the SVG, width 200, height 200, and XMLs the example, and the polygon points 100, the points to draw the star. We have taken the points like 110, 120, 70, 180, 70 and 130 with a 110 and 150, 170. These are goes like a up to having a star shape. So the last point is 70 to have a star shape, and here fill is the pink. So the color what we are filling is the pink, and the stroke is a black, and stroke width means the thickness what we are giving is 2. So this will create a simple star using the polygon element. And SVG width, you can see we are having the same thing. So here we are having the star with the fill pink. So this completes the Unit 3 chapter of the multimedia animation. In the next, we will be learning about the Unit 4 of the HTML canvas. Thank you.